opinions expressed in this show are solely the opinions of the speaker and do not reflect the opinion of RFR or any affiliates.
Radio Free Radio. Radio Free Radio.
Radio Free Radio.
What is reality? Reality is what we believe to be true about the nature of our surroundings. But how do we come to decide that true nature? Do we conceive it completely on our own? Or do other devices gently sway our thoughts onto a pre-decided path? This is the hard question we must all ask ourselves as free humans on this planet. Who sculpts your reality?
Reality. Hey guys, it's time for your reality brief. I'm Don P. I'm here tonight with Dan. So what's up, Dan?
How's it going, everybody?
So we got a good show for you tonight. We got some UFO sightings. We've got some Pentagon missing trillions. We got some Indian protests gone bad. What else we got on the agenda tonight, Dan?
Well, we've got some high strangeness from lightning strikes, mass die-offs all over the world. We've got, let's see, some updates in spacecraft propulsion, some outrage over the DEA's recent decision to reschedule Kratom, and some other choice tidbits from today's headlines. We certainly live in interesting times.
So if you're listening to us on the app or the radio stream, you can head on over to YouTube and catch the live video stream. And we got some video for you tonight to watch. So let's get to it. What we got on the news agenda tonight? Over to YouTube and catch the live video stream. What is that? And we got some video for you tonight to watch. How's that? So let's get to it. What we got on the... Sorry, guys. We got a little technical difficulties tonight. I don't even know if you guys got any sound over there on that intro or not. You know, first night, we're working out the kinks. So we got how spy tech firms let governments see everything on a smartphone. Well, you know, this is something we already pretty much know. It's just a little more to kind of prove it. San Francisco wants to invisibly spy on 10 iPhone owners without their knowledge, gather their every keystroke, sound, message, and location. That will cost you $650,000 plus a $500,000 setup fee with an Israeli outfit called the NSO Group. You can spy on more people if you would like. Just check out the company's price list. The NSO Group is one of a number of companies that sell surveillance tools that can capture all the activity on a smartphone, like a user's location and personal contacts. These tools can even turn the phone into a secret recording device. Since its founding 6 years ago, the NSO Group has kept a low profile. But last month, security researchers called it spyware training to gain access to the iPhone of a human rights activist in the United Arab Emirates. They also discovered a second target, a Mexican journalist who wrote about corruption in the Mexican government. So essentially, we got spying for hire now. Israeli outfit, obviously. What you think about that, Dan?
No sort of black hat skullduggery surprises me these days. It seems that we have a government that's completely fugazi. We have, a Department of Justice that fosters injustices, Food and Drug Administration that makes sure there's poison in our food and no access to drugs that actually do anything. We'll get more to that later. Let's see, we've got, Departments of Homeland Security that make sure the homeland is not secure. So what does the government... can anybody name one government agency that doesn't do the exact opposite of what its name is? The bang-up job that the Environmental Protection Agency did on the Colorado River, what was that, last year, the year before?
Yeah. Speaking of...
Well, somehow... there's some speculation as to whether or not the same government that can screw up a cup of coffee, apparently, is capable of, mass-scale experiments that can alter Earth's weather and create electromagnetic phenomenon out of nowhere. There have been some strange lightning strikes all over the planet. Cows, sheep.
How about this? Miami Beach city leaders are at odds with a scheduled aerial spraying of the insecticide Naled over a 1.5 square mile infection zone. In a statement Tuesday, Miami-Dade County Major Carlos Jimenez said that the flights recommended by Florida health officials.
Cows trying to get relief from a storm. Victor Benson
Can
saw
you,
it
can
happen.
you pause that? Sorry, guys. We're still working the bugs out. In a statement Tuesday, Miami-Dade County Mayor Carlos Jimenez says that flights recommended by Florida health officials and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention will begin Thursday and continue for a month. Governor Jimenez says that the number of Miami Beach mosquitoes found with Zika increased over the weekend. The Florida Health Department announced Tuesday 6 new non-travel related cases of the Zika virus in Miami Beach. Not everyone is happy about the planned aerial spraying in Miami Beach, including the city's mayor, Philip Levine. I'm not comfortable with it, but I think it's important that we listen to the proper scientific and medical authorities and what they recommend. Miami Beach City Commissioner Mike Rico is very upset over the announcement and has called for a special meeting Wednesday to cancel the scheduled aerial spraying. Rico said the aerial assault on mosquitoes could be a threat to everyone. It's a neurotoxin. We don't know the risks. It's been outlawed in Europe since 2012. It's something that's not been used in Miami historically. According to a spokesperson for Mayor Jimenez, Naled, which is EPA approved, has been in use in Miami-Dade County since the 70s. So there you go. They got a neurotoxin. Europe seems to think that it's no good for you.
We survived Corexit. We'll survive this.
So it's like, who's making that? First of all, who owns that company that makes that stuff? And then, obviously they got some kind of sweetheart deal going on to spray everybody with neurotoxin.
Well, aren't there nefarious plans to depopulate the entire planet? So that works in pretty well.
All right, so in other news, we got these Native Americans protesting the pipeline.
I don't really agree with her.
Tell us about that, Dan.
Well, for one thing, I don't really agree with Jill Stein's politics, but I'll tell you what, seeing her, a warrant out for her for spray painting equipment on Lakota land is that's pretty punk. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and you know what's funny about
Carrie
that?
Johnson had some balls like that.
You know what's funny about that is they're gonna arrest her for that shit, right? And but Hillary Clinton can.
yeah.
She can do whatever she wants, but arrest Jill Stein for spray painting on a bulldozer.
One set of rules for them, another for you plebs.
Yes, sir.
Ah.
Queen Hillary strikes again. She probably called it in. Was like, man, arrest her.
Hey, you know what I want to know? What if Russell Means was still around? Russell Means would have shot the bastards.
Now, this mainstream
For
media
coming out of
report
Lakota land.
says 4 private security guards and 2 dogs were injured after a protest in southern North Dakota turned violent on Saturday. Doesn't say why they were injured, because they were sicking the dogs on them people.
Yeah,
I mean,
hate
it's
to make
totally
the current year
ridiculous. And
argument,
then they
but,
report it like this. It's like, yeah, okay.
Well, it seems that there's no limit to how low they'll sink or how many of their own laws they'll break.
Tribal officials say construction crews destroyed Native American burial and cultural sites on private land. Tribe spokesman Steve Sitting Bear said protesters reporting that 6 people had been bitten by security dogs, including a young child. Law enforcement authorities had no reports of protesters being injured. The crowd dispersed when police arrived and no one was arrested.
Sounds like they lucked out. Sounds like it could have gotten a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, when this first started, I remember hearing they were cutting the water off to them. And
well, if it's private land,
I mean, and isn't it bad
private
enough?
land is private
Isn't
land.
it enough that we basically genocided their people? Like, can't you just leave them alone now?
Yeah, I mean,
It's ridiculous, man. Then through the 50s, we went through, the 40s and 50s, we went through, and we sterilized all the women.
well, the Keynesian economists that are running the show these days seem to think that just making work for the sake of making work stimulates the economy. So screw it. Why don't you just build the pipeline around Lakota land?
Man,
It'll make work. It'll make extra jobs.
not to get too far away from that, but going back to that Zika thing, man, what do you think about Zika? I have a strong. I don't have any proof. I'm working on a little thing right now. You guys will see that
Probably do a
sometime
whole
in the future.
episode on it.
I really feel like Zico is an engineered thing, man.
Well, this is what I heard, and this is just from reading crap on Facebook and, reading various articles on Phys.org and Scientific American, but I heard that they were trying to, originally Monsanto was trying to come up with something that, again, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. They wanted to genetically engineer mosquitoes that would breed out the mosquitoes that carried malaria.
Mm-hmm.
And so these genetically engineered mosquitoes do that, but then it conjured up something worse, which is the Zika virus, and now it's,
So you think it's just an accident from screwing around with mosquitoes,
Yeah,
GMO mosquitoes, basically.
people
You
trying
know,
to
there's
play God backfiring.
Yeah, not to sound like Alex Jones, but there's chimera species flying around that's got out that they've made that's going through and breeding with the regular species. Same thing with the GMO corn like Monsanto. That's why they're pressing charges on farmers because their crop would pollinate the farmer's crop. You know what I mean? So like the wind is just carrying the pollen and it's just like destroying the regular stock of corn we got and replacing it with all this GMO stuff.
We could probably do a whole episode on intellectual property theory, too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's nothing concrete yet, but we're gonna find something on that point for you. Let's see, what else we got? Oh yes, we've got a recent UFO sighting off the coast of California. I can't remember exactly where. You guys are gonna like this. It's pretty interesting. Check it out. Now, I've downloaded this and the original audio has these kids talking about it. Oh my God, it's so big, blah, blah. The video's kind of shaky. I zoomed in on it. These lights, I mean, I don't know what to make it at. I mean, I didn't see anything. I mean, I guess it could be CGI.
It could
But,
be After Effects.
yeah, they just had some kids, but it's pretty interesting. And it kind of goes along with what some reports were of some conference that went off recently, the same type of blue orbs. But it looks like it's two distinct types. You got the blue ones on the right, and then you've got the white ones on the left. Sometimes the white ones will disappear and then flash back in.
Yeah, like it's almost.
And then
two
there's
separate
little ones
things
like
moving around.
flying through the sky around it. Phantom Spy would say it was a bug. I don't know. It's hard to say. It could be CGI. I want to believe, but I didn't see it with my own eyes. It's not my actual video.
Well, the ultra skeptic in me says, it's either A, After Effects, or B, some kind of atmospheric phenomenon like ball lightning. But yeah,
No,
I'm
that
like
ain't no.
Mulder.
That
I
ain't
want to
no.
believe.
I don't think that's
I
atmosphere.
personally,
I think it's either CGI or it's legit, man. I don't think there's any kind of natural. That doesn't look like ball lightning to me, man.
well, if it
It's
weren't,
Foo Fighters, dude.
yeah. Well, the thing is, I've seen something very weird over I-64 in Newport News, not too far from the Newport Museum a couple of years ago. I was near J. Clyde and 64. I'd just gotten on headed back towards Hampton, and I saw a very large black triangle with lights towards each point of it, and a single red light in the middle, rotating very slowly. It was one of those rainy, gloomy, overcast, kind of drizzly nights, where everything feels wet and sticky, itchy, and kind of dirty. And I was heading home from a friend's house, and I see this shape moving through the clouds, and I slowed down to make sure I was doing 55, and I looked out. I wasn't under the influence of anything. I wasn't sleep deprived. Airplane was like Air Force bases, airports and whatnot around here. So planes are a pretty common sight. But when the sky is that dark orange, purpley color that gets it clouds reflecting all the city lights back, you can't miss that. A big black triangle moving through the sky.
Right. Yeah, that's It's pretty interesting, man. Was it did it have a large light in the center?
Yes.
So it looked like the typical Treb.
Yeah, TR-3B. It's a supposed anti-gravity craft, and here's the fun part: Northrop Grumman actually has the patent on it.
Right.
So
For those of you who don't know, that particular plane is,
TR-3B Astra.
and it's can travel through space. It's got a plasma drive. It can warp real fast. They're flying around the solar system in that thing. So, Lockheed Martin got the patent on the drive. Seen some concept pictures of it, and there's plenty of sightings of triangular craft. So, you come to your own conclusion on that. I'm pretty sure that that's a real thing.
Yeah. Well, and it said that any technology that the public has any inkling about, DARPA's probably already had for 30 years.
Right. So think about this. What was it in the early 60s? The NSA had the computing power of a 2000s computer, a computer made in 2000.
Really?
Yeah. So that puts them.
Sounds like something we could
That
do a
puts
whole
them,
episode about too.
40 or 50 years ahead of us just in that. I mean, don't you suppose they're ahead of us in everything else too? I mean, wouldn't that make sense? I mean, what would just be that? I mean, they've probably got a totally different understanding of physics and the way the world works, completely different than what we do. And then you see things like, we got transparent aluminum now, right? So it's like, yeah, they're letting us know that.
In Star Trek
And they got
4,
the nano, the what was it, the Vanna.
Wasn't Scotty rocking some transparent aluminum? in
Yeah,
Star
he
Trek
came back
4?
from the future, and he put it in that guy's hand. And then you got the Vanna Black stuff, right?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
So if you guys don't know what the Vanna Black is, that's something that's so black it's blacker than black. Like it swallows, like it's nano
Blackity black.
carbon graphite tubes, or is it carbon?
Yeah, carbon nanotubes.
And they're stacked so tightly together
They grow 'em
that
on
it
aluminum
just
foil.
swallows all the light.
It reflects 0.0093% or something of the light that's cast at it, and it creates a visual black hole. You look at it and there's just nothing there. It's like staring into the void. Should be so lucky. But no, for real, like I remember I used to have a T-shirt that said, "I'm only wearing black until they make something darker." Well, they did.
Cover myself in Vanna Black.
It's the gothiest thing ever.
It's the gothiest.
I'm going to paint
So,
my car Vanna black.
Those things to me totally exist. I mean, you can argue any way you want to on that, but you're not going to change my mind, like I said. And with the transparent aluminum, it's like they're just letting us know about that, but they've had that for a long time. Just like all these breakthroughs, the Vanna Black, the transparent aluminum, the quantum computing, all of that kind of stuff, cloaks, everything that you're just now finding about is probably 40 years old.
Well, anybody who's tuning into this show, probably, I'm assuming we have a lot of science and conspiracy theory and UFO enthusiasts that are listening. Speaking of things that DARPA's probably had for 30, 40 years, recently leaked on Motherboard, June 17th of actually last year. It's engineers stumble upon a whole new method of laser-based spacecraft propulsion, basically using lasers to hit a solar sail, except this looks like something tougher than a solar sail. Chinese physicists apparently have developed a light-based propulsion system with the ability to harness greater forces than a conventional solar sail. They swap out the mirror sail, which captures photonic energy as radiation pressure in the same way a regular air sail captures wind energy, to a pure black graphene sponge. Again, there's that Vanta Black. Rather than reflect off the sail, the light is absorbed by the sponge, which converts the energy into propulsion. So we probably have a lot of people who've heard about Starshot. It's a project recently discussed by Stephen Hawking and Yuri Milner that'll involve sending tiny probes out to Proxima Centauri, the closest star to our own solar system, and hopefully in 20 years we'll have live photos of what's going around the next closest star to us.
That's pretty wild, man. Well, first segment we got for you tonight. Last week, I come across this video. Look, I'm in all the conspiracy groups on Facebook. I enjoy it. There's some really some of the stuff they post in there is just ridiculous. But so I come across this video. It's got 320 reindeer, right, supposedly killed by lightning. So I'm like, how does? And they're pretty close together. You know what I mean? It's a big herd of them. I'm thinking, how does that happen, right? So I'm watching the video, and we actually got it for you. I'm gonna go ahead and play that for you right now. So I'm watching the video, and I'm like, there's not a tree in sight. I'm not seeing any scorch marks. No definite antlers have been detached. It looks like there's a few of them that are missing their heads. Well, I guess that could work with a lightning strike, but
Could have been a lightning strike.
man, I don't.
Where was this? Norway?
This was in Norway.
Well, that region of the world's pretty volcanic. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe
I mean,
a big pocket of carbon monoxide opened up from
I'm just
the earth and killed
I'm just
everything.
looking at this having a hard time buying lightning strike, right?
What I want to know is
So
what did these deer know about Hillary Clinton's emails?
so it's in the back of my mind, right? You know, I'm thinking about it. But then the next day, there's a report on CNN about 19 cows getting killed by a single lightning bolt, and with an eyewitness, right? So I'm watching it, and I'm looking at the tree, and I'm not seeing anything that resembles. I meant to get the video and stuff together for you guys, but I didn't have time. Sorry. It looked like someone just lightly scratched the bark on the tree in a line, right? So I look up images of lightning strikes on Google, and I'm looking. I was like, "There's no way, man! Lightning screws a tree up." And now there's some instances of that kind of thing, but it's real deep, and you could tell, man, it was bad, right? So I'm not seeing that at all. I'm not seeing no charring, fire, anything you expect from a lightning strike. But there's this guy, and he's, "Oh yeah, I saw it with my own eyes. One lightning blast killed all them cows." I'm like, so I'm thinking, well, maybe what is this, like a counterpiece to kind of get everybody looking at the reindeer like, hey, look, yeah, this is perfectly normal. And then the next day, I come across an article where an entire soccer team, I laugh, but it's not funny, man. An entire soccer team in Africa killed by a lightning blast. Now, I'm going to pull this up for you, if I can find it. Here we go.
What did Obama's uncle know?
What did the soccer team know? So, football fans in the Central African state of Congo were hurling accusations of witchcraft at each other. Yesterday, after a freak blast of lightning struck dead an entire team on the playing field with their opponents left completely untouched. The bizarre blow by the weather to all 11 members of the football team was reported in a daily newspaper.
Wow.
Lightning killed at a stroke 11 young people between the ages 20 and 35 years during the football match, the newspaper reported. It went on to say 30 other people had received burns at the weekend match held in the eastern province of Kasai. Athletes from Basanga, the home team, curiously came out of this catastrophe unscathed. So now I'm really scratching my head.
First of all, where do I learn how to do that? I've been wanting to be able to do that.
And this
for
all
years.
happened. I saw this and it was like day 1 the reindeer, day 2 the cows, day 3 a soccer team.
Oh, and don't forget we have a flock of 120 sheep in Kyrgyzstan recently killed June 16th, 2016.
Well, yeah, that wasn't that recent ago. That was a couple months ago. But this was all within a string of days, man, that this happened.
So, is the same government that's capable of screwing up a cup of coffee capable of generating lightning storms with HARP?
Well, here's the thing, man. I mean, were they testing a weapon? Was it disease in the case of the reindeer? I mean, the soccer team, I don't know, man. And if it is lightning, what the heck is making the lightning be able to do that now? Like, literally go across that much space and kill 300 and some reindeer at once. And not leave a char anywhere. Like, it didn't even hit the ground. Like, it just manifested in the air and just went whew.
Well,
And
yeah.
no fire and no burning.
Maybe it was just enough electricity to stop their hearts.
Maybe, man. Like, I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy, man. You guys got anything on that, you can go ahead and call in. The number is
Maybe it was a deer cult.
757-525-3276.
It's like
give
the,
us a call.
the Jim Jones of
Oh,
deer.
crap. Sorry, I'm trying to do like 16 things at once there. The number's up there on the screen. You guys got something to say about it? I mean, I don't really know where else to go with that. I mean, that's pretty crazy, man. Like, you got any ideas with that?
Oh, with the reindeer
Like, how
or any
could
of them?
any of it? I mean, it's all equally disturbing and strange, high strangeness to me, man.
Well, perhaps it was advanced energy weapons testing. Never know.
Yeah.
What I want, it'd be nice to know if there were any strange aerial phenomenon, reported around around the time that these things happened.
Yeah. That could be something to further research.
I've seen videos of one of those TR-3Bs, supposedly from Afghanistan. The footage looked kind of doctored to me, but it looked like it was dropping a payload of weaponry onto a building, and you could see a series of machine gun-like flashes from the TR-3B, and then boom, 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 boom.
Right. All right, so moving on to the next point of topic here, if I can get any of this to work. Super lightning. So the internet's about to ICANN's about to release the internet.
What does that mean exactly? What does that mean to the average consumer? What does that mean to the average person on the internet?
Man, I would say expect a great tightening down of controls. I mean, we're talking about it's probably going to end up into the hands of the UN. You might even be saying goodbye to us.
And what is the...
Especially if Hillary Clinton gets elected, because we're the, what does she call it? Alt-right? What is that? It doesn't even make any sense. We're lumped
Actually, it
in.
does to me.
How do you lump us in with Klansmen? It doesn't even make any sense, man.
There's a very fine division in what most people would consider right wing or liberty movements these days, and it seems that it's split into genuine people who value liberty, some of whom have been hoodwinked into voting for Johnson, but a lot of them are just
Gary
general and not
Johnson.
voting type. And then you have the alt-right people who swing just a little bit more towards authoritarianism.
That's, I don't understand.
A lot of the same people that got suckered into voting for guys like George Bush. And, they're what's being called the alt-right these days. And it really is disappointing to see how many people... I think the people that were Ron Paul supporters that are now supporting Trump have fallen the furthest. Like, I don't know how you could go from supporting someone who's basically a voluntarist to supporting a Mussolinian goon.
Yeah, I don't understand anybody who... I don't understand it either. So, back to the topic at hand. This is going to happen on
don't even get me
October
started
1st,
on that. I'll
guys.
just get mad.
This is going to happen on October 1st. I mean, it's pretty soon, man. October 1st, 2016, the U.S. will take a major step in lessening its stewardship of the domain name system, the DNS, when it hands over supervision of the system to the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, ICANN. The DNS is basically a directory for Internet-connected devices that help translate domain names to numerical IP addresses. So, that essentially is, they could block, I mean, it's going in the hands of the UN, guys. I mean,
So
they're saying they
ICANN
could
does
take
what?
control, but who do you think's going to take control over it?
How
You
do
think they're gonna
take
let Russia
control
have
over
it or
the
something?
internet? If personally, I think if any one power is going to wrest control of it, it's going to be the real financial capital of the world, Switzerland.
Yeah.
But what does ICANN do, really? All they really do is assign names to websites, domain names, and IP addresses. So I don't really see, is there any record of people being denied a domain name or an IP address over political bias?
Not yet.
I mean, the craziest, most full potato thing you can think of out on the internet.
Think about what the UN could possibly do and what they would possibly want to do. Say you want to go ahead and just get you a domain name, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do nowadays? You just jump on over to GoDaddy or whatever, and you type in your name,
Yeah.
and nobody's got it. $12 a year, got it, gotcha. Boom, that's it. Credit
Yeah.
card number, you good to go.
And there's a cajillion companies you can go through to do
Absolutely. So now, if the UN has control over that, it could be something to where it's like, oh, well, you need a 2-week waiting period and a background check and all
this.
this.
We need
and
a
that
retina
to
scan.
because look, you might hurt someone's feels. Okay, you don't want to hurt anyone's feels,
Especially
because-
with those Harambe memes.
And then you got all these crazy racists talking about the government doing bad things, and we can't have that either.
Because if you think the government's doing bad things, you must be a racist.
So there you have it, guys. UN takeover. Unbelievable. Now,
Well,
nothing's set in stone, so we'll see what happens. But, if they're saying they're going to take it, they're going to take it. Who else are they going to give it to? You think they're going to give it to Russia?
no,
I mean,
I say it's
maybe Europe, but I doubt
maybe
it.
China.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They
man.
are kind of buying things up these days. Although, technically, if you're for free trade, that shouldn't be a problem. But, how do you do free trade with state corporatism? But I digress. The move to transfer control of ICANN over to the UN, well, there's commentary from Breitbart. A guy, Joel Pollack, has written this article talking about the UN takeover of ICANN. And the real question is, would this allow tyrannical regimes to deny people access to the internet? Does ICANN have any jurisdiction over the dark web? If I wanted to open up a dark web site, can ICANN even touch that? How does that work? If anybody wants to call in and educate us, that'd be great, actually, because I really have no idea how setting up an IP address for a dark website how you would even go about that.
In the meantime, we got a little blog from our great pal, The Biz. We're going to go ahead and read that and talk about that a little bit. Maybe you guys can weigh in on that. A little math lesson on why lumping people together in groups and blaming an entire race for the transgressions of a few is counterproductive to improving our society, as well as an outright and open display of ignorance. To break it down by demographics, 246 million people that identify as white in the U.S. 38 million people identify as black or African American. Based on the 2013 crime statistics, not arrest convictions, 6.1 million crimes committed by people identifying themselves as white, 2.4 million crimes committed by people that identify themselves as black or African American. When broken down into percentages by demographics with some slight rounding to make the numbers easier to read decimals, that equates to that 25/100% of the white population is arrested yearly, and 6/100% of the black and African American population is arrested yearly. 99.975% of the white population are not arrested yearly, and 99.94% of the black African population are not arrested yearly. Is there a bit of disparity? Yes. The black African American arrest rate is slightly more than double in arrests than the white population. Another important fact is that based upon total arrests, not convictions, it's also true that the black African American population is often profiled and specifically targeted by police, therefore more likely to be arrested. That's still 99.94% of the black African American population that's being blamed and treated like second-class citizens on a daily basis for the transgressions of 0.06 of the population. That doesn't mean 0.06% of new criminals each year. It likely many of them same people doing the same things year after year. This is why you need to stop making broad, sweeping statements about race. You're lumping 100% of demographically divided people into the transgressions of less than 0.1% of a given population. We live in a society where media bias rules the thoughts of most, and there's an obvious bias against people of color. Ignorantly repeating those biases in everyday conversation doesn't help solve the problem, and it takes away from decent folk just trying to make it in this world just like the rest of us.
Well, yeah, I tend to concur. Auntie Ein always said that racism is merely the lowest form of collectivism, and that's pretty much a view I ascribe to.
Yeah. I mean, just goes to everything else. I mean,
Also, how do you castrate a white supremacist? Kick his sister in the teeth.
All right, what else we got here? Would be a little early to go into the second big topic, so back to the internet thing. No?
Huh?
Sorry, guys.
Sorry. Well, earlier we were talking about things that DARPA's had for 30 years that they haven't yet, leaked out to us
Right.
commoners. A company called Turing has a new phone coming out in 2018. Yes, a phone. It has 3 Snapdragon 830 processors, 18 gigabytes of RAM, and 1.2 terabytes of friggin' storage space. Look at this. Turing Robotics Industries. It's unleashed this new phone. It's the Turing Monolith Kakon. A smartphone with specs even stranger than its name. 6.4-inch 4K display, 2160 by 3840. Man, I'm gonna have to get a new graphics card to keep up with this phone for my desktop. Like, this is like 3 of my computer that I edit video on. 512 gigs via micro SD card.
That's ridiculous, man.
This is 60 megapixel quad rear camera. This is beautiful. You know, bring on that Star Trek technology. You know, if we've got laser propulsion and stuff going Alpha Centauri, then yeah,
Laser propulsion, warp drive, transparent aluminum.
But you know, cell phones were Star Trek stuff, 50 years ago. Nobody thought that you'd actually be able to pull open your little flip communicator and talk to somebody on the other side of the planet. And, now you can. And it makes you wonder how much of this stuff is just slowly being leaked out to the public.
All right, 9:50. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and play the TV segment to segue and then go to break, and then when we come back, we're gonna go ahead and get into that topic, which is the missing trillions from the Pentagon and why it's so important.
There's
go
the money,
ahead and-
Lebowski. There's the money.
Hey, it's Don, and it's time for your reality brief. We've recently had a bomb dropped on us in the form of an audit report from the Inspector General's office. According to the July 26th report, the Pentagon is unable to account for $2.8 trillion in third quarter JV adjustments and $6.5 trillion in year-end JV adjustments. What's the plus and minus of 2.8 trillion and 6.5 trillion? 9.3, Fredo. That's right. $9.3 trillion. That's a lot of dinero. To put it in perspective for you, that's over half the entire GDP for the United States and more than the entire GDP for China for 2013. That's a staggering $29,164.75 for each person in the United States. What? But this is nothing new for the Pentagon. Recent history is ripe with examples of missing money and shady accounting practices. 2 major points of immediate concern are, 1, where did all that money go? That's an extremely large amount of money to be just waste. And 2, what can we do to prevent it from happening again? Now obviously they don't want us to know where that money went, otherwise we would. Now this is where the speculation gets hot and heavy. We know the US government runs any number of secret black programs around the globe. From arming and training rebels to secret rendition camps and an elaborate spying apparatus. But could all of that explain the vast amount of missing money in question, or could there be something more deeper or sinister at play here? The theories are out there, guys. See what you think.
Yar!
As for the second concern, we can no longer let information like this be lost in the sea of SpongeBob and sports memes. Get out there, guys, and tell your coworkers, tell your neighbors, tell anyone you can. And finally, we must continue to demand a more transparent form of government accounting, and more importantly, monetary policy. That's it for this time, guys. Don't forget to tell us what you think in the comments section, and like and subscribe for more reality brief.
Second one now? Just click it.
Corey O'Neill.
This is James Clark.
Tune into the FSB show here on
What's up, Internet? This is George of the Chocolate Milk and Waffle Show.
And I'm Terrell K. Mercer, also of the Chocolate Milk and Waffle Show.
And we would like to invite you to tune in every Thursday from 8 to 9 on Radio F Radio.
Hey, it's Justin from Deprogram. Do you like to talk about your favorite bands with your friends? Yeah, well, me too. Tune in every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. to hear us do just that. Only on our station, Radio Free Radio, RadioFradio.com.
Hey, this is Corey O'Neill.
This is James Clark.
Tune into the FSB show here on our station, RadioFradio.com, every Thursday at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern to midnight. 2 full hours we bring you politically incorrect sports talk, outside-the-box, thought-provoking stuff. You can call in here at the station 757-848-5920. Give us a call, debate us. Whatever's on your mind, let us know. We'll go back and forth. Give us a call. Head over to patreon.com/Radio Free Radio. $1 a month gets you everything. Don't miss what we've got going on at our station, RadioFradio.com. Boom.
Do you ever feel like there's something wrong in the world around you? Do you feel like you're being lied to? Do you think you know more than the people in charge? Join us as we answer these questions and many more. Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. on RadioFradio.com.
Hey guys, Matt and Justin here. Do you like things that are funny? Do you like music? Do you like talk? Well, we've got it all on Good Morning You Drunks.
How do you feel about double middle finger?
Oops, I don't like them, but I will accept them.
Oh, Monday nights, 8 p.m. Good Morning You Drunks, only on our station, Radio Free Radio, RadioFradio.com.
We promise we're not going to give you double middle fingers.
RadioFradio.com.
Did you know that Radio Free Radio has over 100 videos on their YouTube channel? It's true. Check it out. Go to YouTube and type Radio Free Radio, all one word, into the search bar and click subscribe.
Hey Justin, I was just thinking that there's no better way to advertise that hashtag WrestlePals is moving to 10 p.m. every Monday on Radio Free Radio, RadioFradio.com, than to cut our own wrestling style promo. Do it!
Monday nights at 10 p.m. Hashtag WrestlePals take the airwaves. And they're going to talk wrestling with you. If you want to call in, you can call 757-848-5920. Can you feel that? Feel the WrestlePals power coursing through your graves! Ah!
I think you just had an aneurysm. That's hashtag WrestlePals every Monday, 10 p.m. Radio Free Radio, RadioFradio.com.
Hey guys, this is Ron from Ron to the Hills, and we want to hear from you. Give us a call at 757-848-5920. Shoot us an email at ronhillsshow@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook /Ron to the Hills, and now you can Skype us at Ronnie.Hills too. Come on, join the Hill people today.
RadioFradio.com.
I'm not a bit surprised that the Federal Reserve got to the Senate. I had expected Bernie Sanders to offer 604, which was the same as 1207, which is the Audit the Fed bill. And at the last minute, he switched it and watered it down, and really it adds nothing. It's a possibility that it even makes the current conditions worse. This is essentially the bill plus more of the bill we beat in the House Financial Committee, the Mel Watts bill. But this is so disappointing to me that this happened, especially since for months now I've worked with Bernie on this, and he introduced the bill in our language, which was 1207. But as we speak, this is Thursday night, they are working on this on the Senate floor, and we need to get as many messages as possible to any senator you can think of, especially to Bernie Sanders' office, that we don't want this version. We want a true audit of the Fed. We need to know what the Open Market Committee does, and we need to know what they're doing overseas with the agreements with central banks and financial institutions and other governments. And in this bill that is being offered, that amendment that is being offered now does not include this. So I am sure that Senator DeMint is working on this and may come up with an alternative. But the only thing that would be fair to the American people, after all this work and energy that we've put into this, is have an up and down vote on what was our 1207 in the House, which is 604 in the Senate. Yes, they may water it down and they may win it, but if they don't have an honest vote on a Senate floor, to me it would be very, very discouraging. But it also shows what kind of forces we're up against. The president doesn't want this. The leadership on Wall Street doesn't want it. The Federal Reserve doesn't want it. So they're powerful forces. But just think of the people that do want it. You know, everybody from progressives and liberal Democrats to libertarians and constitutionalists and the average person, so many of the Tea Party members, they all want this. They want transparency, and they want to find out what's going on at the Fed. So it's very, very important. It's a crucial time, and whether, I doubt if they'll vote tonight, which is Thursday, but they may vote tomorrow. Who knows? They may vote Monday. But it's vital and urgent that we do as much as we can to bombard the Senate with information that we, the people, deserve to have an up and down vote on Audit the Fed bill.
Hey, we're back, guys. If you want to get in on the conversation, now's the time to call 757-525-3276. This is Reality Brief on RadioFradio.com. Take a minute and hop on over to the Patreon page and check us out over there. You know, donate $1, keep the station rolling. We're going to go ahead and play that video for you one more time. Then when we come back from that, we're going to jump right into the conversation.
Hey, it's Don, and it's time for your Reality Brief. We've recently had a bomb dropped on us in the form of an audit report from the Inspector General's office. According to the July 26th report, the Pentagon is unable to account for $2.8 trillion in third quarter JV adjustments and $6.5 trillion in year-end JV adjustments. What's the plus and minus of 2.8 trillion and 6.5 trillion? 9.3, Fredo. That's right. $9.3 trillion. That's a lot of dinero. To put it in perspective for you, that's over half the entire GDP for the United States and more than the entire GDP for China for 2013. That's a staggering $29,164.75 for each person in the United States. What? But this is nothing new for the Pentagon. Recent history is ripe with examples of missing money and shady accounting practices. Two major points of immediate concern are, one, where did all that money go? That's an extremely large amount of money to be just waste. And two, what can we do to prevent it from happening again? Now, obviously they don't want us to know where that money went, otherwise we would. Now, this is where the speculation gets hot and heavy. We know the U.S. government runs any number of secret black programs around the globe, from arming and training rebels to secret rendition camps and an elaborate spying apparatus. But could all of that explain the vast amount of missing money in question, or could there be something more deeper or sinister at play here? The theories are out there, guys. See what you think. Yar! As for the second concern, we can no longer let information like this be lost in the sea of SpongeBob and sports memes. Get out there, guys, and tell your coworkers, tell your neighbors, tell anyone you can. And finally, we must continue to demand a more transparent form of government accounting, and more importantly, monetary policy. That's it for this time, guys. Don't forget to tell us what you think in the comments section and like and subscribe for more Reality Brief.
All right, guys, you saw it. The Pentagon missing $9.3 trillion, Frito.
The case of the missing money. Where'd it all go? There is a gigantic, gaping hole in the budget of the United States. What was that? How much?
6.5 in year end and 2.8 in third quarter, so 9.3.
$9.3 trillion missing. Now, what is that compared to the GDP of the entire country, Don?
It's half of it, man. They just saw that.
Half of it.
Man, what I don't
I'm
understand.
I'm sorry.
What I
I'm
don't
just-
understand is how is there not riots in the damn street over this? I mean, $9.3 trillion just gone of your money. Yeah, I mean, nobody even cares. Nobody even cares.
Yeah, nobody even cares. And we've got, it's not just this year. This has been going on for a very long time. There are reports going back to 2015, 2013, a cursory Google search.
8.5 trillion
trillions
there.
missing in year will basically give you
3.5 trillion here. You know, the day before 9/11 was 2.3 trillion. I mean, now we see examples of this happening in other places around the world. You got that open over there?
dating back to
No, in other countries. You got the EU
it's
was
not
recently
just America.
Right.
The
But
EU,
the
Russia,
thing
India, China, friggin' Kenya has holes in its black budget.
The thing about it here is you got $1 billion missing money mystifies European nation after banking scandal. I mean, 1 billion. That's 1 billion. That's a freaking drop compared to 9.3 trillion. I mean,
Well, you have to think most European nations are about the size of, a
yeah, but
state.
this is for the entire EU. So, I mean, and then Russia is, what was Russia's? 500 million?
Well, this is dating back to 2015, but a technology report from actually CNN Money reports that Russia's space program. Now, with Russia, you've got to wonder, organized crime is so deep in Russia that you don't know if the missing money is actually going to organized crime or, simple malfeasance, government corruption. What's this? Yeah, $1.8 billion disappears in Russian space program.
Right. So we're talking 1.8 billion. We're
Dated-
talking, I think the largest was like, was it China was like 13 billion or something like, or India.
Let's
I
see,
mean, so it's nothing compared
15
to the
billion
amount
for
of
India.
fraud going on in this country right
This
now.
year.
$9.3 trillion. Trillion with a T. T like take your money. It's ridiculous.
I don't even think they can print that much money.
They can't, man, and that's the thing about it, man. Our monetary system allows them to just go in and be like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and it doesn't
Yeah.
even matter. It's just like, we do what we want.
It's not like they actually have some giant Scrooge McDuckian vault full of wealth to back all this up.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's all just coming off the press with nothing backing it, just at their whim. I mean, the Federal Reserve System, it's siphoning the life out of us as a nation.
David, let's start off with, indeed, this budget. And what are you looking out for? Of course, there's fiscal prudence, as Harsh has been discussing, but there's much more.
You're listening
on it.
to
Buy-side firms around the world use NASDAQ
never
pre- and
mind.
post-trade tools
It
to
was
monitor
cool.
and mitigate risk. Smart trade surveillance analyzes trading
Given all of those sorts of challenges that you've just been talking about, there is this need to be boosting.
Just like that, Dan. Just like that. So, where was I? Trillions missing with a T.
Let's see,
So
Moldova reports
now-
$1 billion missing.
Now we know, like I said in the video that you saw twice already, there's all kinds of black programs that this country runs. Espionage, black ops, things of that nature. Different bases that aren't on the radar. But that much money, to me, seems like it's just a bit much to be getting funneled into that. I mean,
Well, the financial interests that run the world, the Bank for International Settlements, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, aren't exactly transparent It's not like you can just log onto their website and see where all this money's going.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we're talking about the Pentagon here. This is money allotted to the Pentagon from Congress that's missing that they can't account for.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking about the monetary
International.
policy in general.
Well, I thought we were still talking about the international
So,
stuff.
what could they be doing with this money? I mean, that's a ridiculous amount of money. Put it in perspective. I mean, those jet planes are like $12 million a piece. So
And how much did they
that's a lot of freaking jet planes, you know what I mean, worth of money.
How much did they recently spend on developing that new one? Like 37 billion, something like that?
It's
37
ridiculous.
billion.
So what do they got going on that they're not telling us about?
It's almost as if there's some clandestine thing going on.
It
behind
definitely
closed
is,
doors
man.
that
I
we don't want you
really
to know about.
look. I'm telling you, all of this UFO stuff, man. I'm telling you, a lot of this is ours. I mean, the Treb. We were talking about it earlier. Money getting
Again,
funneled. How much do you think they
Northrop
developed
Grumman
that?
owns the patent
I
on
mean,
the TR-3B Astra.
So here's the thing, though. Like that
So, it's
plane,
obviously human
we're just
technology.
now like getting leaked about that plane, like somewhat officially, whistleblowers and whatnot.
What if
so
there's more than that plane?
That plane. That's what I'm saying. That plane is probably 20 years old. I mean, they had the stealth bomber in the early 80s.
Mhm.
So that plane is old. What do they got now? Good Lord, man. We talked about Solar Warden on Ron in the Hills a few times. That's the Gary McKinnon. It's some of the stuff that he gleaned when he had that big hack. And
The ships that he mentioned,
Mhm.
the USSS, not USS, but USSS Hillenketter, the Aaron Burr, the Curtis LeMay.
now these are supposedly cigar-shaped modular ships that break off into smaller ships, and it can be rearranged on the inside to accommodate any number of things: troop transport, cargo, scientific experiments, you name it. So they're hopping around the solar system, checking everything out already.
You know, I would be relieved to find out that we're not dumping, all this missing money that's going on, that it's actually going towards exploring space and not just blowing up places that end in Stan and taking their oil. I would love to find out that we don't need all that oil anymore. That would be
Yeah,
incredible.
it would be awesome. See, the powers that be are not going to let that happen. If all of a sudden there's free energy and replicator technology chilling, what's that mean for them? They have no control over anyone anymore. You don't have to go to your job and do that kind of stuff. I mean, if you need something, you can replicate it. You know what I mean? So therefore, you'll be spending your time creating, being artistic, and making things of value of that nature instead of working, slaving away in the factory to make shoes or whatever it is, because you could just go up to your machine and put in some shoes and get some shoes.
Mm-hmm. Well, and perhaps in an episode coming up, we can devote some time to discussing future concepts of economics. That's one thing that kind of fascinates me. One thing that we're going to hear coming from a lot of the authoritarians and collectivists coming up in the years to come is going to be the concept of universal basic income, giving everybody a little piece of the pie every month just for drawing a breath. And there are better ideas than that. And hopefully, in one of our shows coming up soon, we'll explore some of those some of these ideas. And
We're
possible
definitely-
future alternate economic concepts.
We're definitely going to go into that. The show is now, it's breaking format a little bit from Ron in the Hills, guys. We're going to kind of go away a little bit from so much of the surface politics, the dog and pony show that everybody's so obsessed with. Hillary Clinton hacked up a lizard, that kind of stuff, like, the race between Trump and Clinton. I mean, look.
Well, I heard she's been having these coughing fits lately, and people just need to know that that's how her species procreates, is that they cough up a cluster of eggs, and they usually lay them in somebody's head, and you wait a few months, they hatch, and you go on.
So we're going to be focusing a little more heavily on exopolitics. And for those of you who don't know who that is, that's politics as how it concerns to extraterrestrial activity or just, UFOs in general, that type of thing. Because recent whistleblower testimony from several people about a secret space program kind of, cracks that wide open. It's this whole new world that kind of layers on top of what we know as politics. The background, the boogeyman in the back, the Illuminati, you know what I mean? The people calling the shots, that they're the Illuminati. The people behind the financial sector are directly tied into this secret space program.
Well, and
So
it makes me wonder if the interests that control the world that constantly filter some of this stuff in through fiction and, media, things like Stargate or...
right, and we got planned tonight for talking about some of the leaks jumping off in the recent history. One of those to kind of tease that a little bit. You guys remember the Sony hack? You remember the Sony hack, Dan? There was that movie with the North Korean thing, and it came out, and they were saying, they just kind of focused on the thing about North Korea movie and them referring to Obama as the N-word or something like that. Like, they kind of just focused on that little bit of stuff.
I remember the what was it, The Dictator? What was it called? The Interview.
The Interview.
Yeah,
that's what it
that's
was.
it.
Yeah, so they kind of just kept it there, but WikiLeaks has that on their site. And thank God for WikiLeaks, man. You can search and you can see that Sony actually gets advised by RAND Corporation, which is part of the military-industrial complex. So they're giving them advice on what kind of movies to make, all that stuff. They got people that sit on the board of both companies, essentially. And so right there is proof that the military-industrial complex puts out information through media. And, what exactly are they telling them to make? I don't know, but it kind of makes you wonder when stuff comes out like Stargate and stuff comes out like...
well, and how many of these members of the boards of these companies, like RAND Corporation, basically have a revolving door policy with the United States federal government and various other international institutions and NGOs.
Mm-hmm. And RAND is just one small part. It's one think tank of the military-industrial complex. I mean, we're talking about a giant machine here that it's just incredible. And to think about the amount of money going through it, and if they've got stuff in space and that stuff is real, that's pretty ridiculous, man.
The computers that help you log into healthcare.gov beat up old, 1988 or 1986 Power Mac. Computers that watch you log into healthcare.gov. Skynet.
What else you got on the billions and the trillions, man?
Let's see. Well, on the missing trillions, let's see. Just this year, I believe it was $8.5 trillion is missing from the Pentagon budget.
Well, before you hit that one, that's from actually a couple years ago. But the 9.3 that we're talking about was for fiscal year 2015. So I mean, this is 2 years old, and it's just what I mean, like
just coming to light.
Yeah, it's just coming to light now. Actually, this may be interrelated to this, where they're saying 8.5 trillion. Which now, from my calculations, is 9.3 trillion. So in that time, they've added another, 8 tenths?
Yeah.
I mean, how did they get away? How did they?
$500 billion in unaudited contracts with outside vendors. Think about how much of that money paid for actual goods and services delivered that's not known. Over the past 10 years, the DoD has signed contracts for provisions of more than $3 trillion in goods and services. How much of that is waste?
So $3 trillion in contracts.
The Pentagon used a standard operating procedure to enter false numbers or plugs to cover lost or missing information in their accounting, so they could submit a balanced budget sheet to the Treasury.
So according to that, $3 trillion in contracts. So now that's how they work this with the military-industrial complex. That's how this works. So they give $1 trillion to Lockheed,
$50,000 hammers.
Yeah, they get RAND gets a couple billion. They split it up like that. So like when there's people that want to say like, well, how could they build something like the Treb? And like people would say something. Well, people have said something. First of all, okay, nobody wants to listen when it's reported. And secondly, 9.3 missing trillion.
Well, people have important things to do, like go out and find Pokemon. Which, speaking of which, how many of you guys out there in Radio Land know about Niantic, the company that helped develop this new Pokemon Go thing recently? Did you know they're a CIA contractor?
Yeah, we talked about that on Ron of the Hills, me and Ronnie.
How about that?
Niantic. So, all right, you can continue on with this one. Sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, no, but yeah, it's let's see, $8.5 trillion in taxpayer money doled out by Congress to the Pentagon since 1996 that has never been accounted for.
And
it
that was
boggles
up.
my mind how many people will flip out about, little old ladies and people on disability and whatnot collecting welfare. But the real welfare queens that are out there, the military-industrial complex, nobody bats an eye about those. Oh, no, we need to rebuild our military. 275 warships ain't enough. We need 500. Make America great again.
It's I was on the way over here.
Build a wall made out of warships.
On the way over here, Mr. Savage was savagely playing some Trump. And Trump was like savagely being a statist.
What is the
He's
immigration
like,
status?
They literally said, we got 270 ships. We need 350. I'm going to rebuild America. And then he was talking about the Air Force, too. It's like, man, 9.3 missing trillion, guys. What?
You think we could build some ships for $9.3 trillion, right?
I think we should have all the fleet that we need, man. Jesus. What are we doing? Taking over the galaxy?
Yeah, we need to conquer Jupiter or Titan. They have oil.
Dick Cheney planting the flag in Titan. I name you in on behalf of Halliburton.
God forbid we should find a planet that has 0.2% to opium in its atmosphere. It's over.
Oh, good God.
We're gonna bring them some freedom.
Again, if you guys want to call in, that number is 757-525-3276. Call that with your telephone, not your computer, and you'll get on in on the conversation. Next week, hopefully next week, maybe the week after, we got another radio host coming on the show. His name's Dennis Ford. He's going to be filling us in a little bit about just the endless gun violence happening in Chicago right now that nobody is talking about.
But all these gun laws,
day after
why aren't
day,
they keeping people
weekend
safe?
after weekend, tens and 20 people dying, up to 100 people getting injured and they just drive around spraying. So he's going to be in here and letting us know, filling us in a little bit on that.
Well, speaking of planets that are, have an atmosphere made of opium and, opium in general, there's an issue that's appeared in the headlines recently that I'd like to devote some time to. And you may remember at the beginning of the show we discussed how, the government's fugazi. Everything they do is shady and the opposite of exactly what they say they're going to do.
Right.
And it's come up recently. It's come to my attention that there's this plant. It's been used for thousands of years by people in Asia. It's called kratom, and it's commonly sold in hippie stores. There's places around town here, head shops typically sell it, but you can actually find it at some health food stores too. This kratom stuff, it's, at first it was hailed as this miraculous substance that got people off of, it was good, used for treating opium addiction. There's one other country in the world where this stuff is currently illegal. That's Thailand. And the reason it's illegal in Thailand is because, again, they have a pharma lobby, and it's cutting into their opium tax. People are using this kratom stuff to get off of opium, and it's costing them money. Lots of it. That's why here in the United States, the DEA has recently announced that on September 30th, kratom will be moved to a Schedule I substance, along with, I can't understand. Well, no, I can. Just pure friggin' greed and tyranny is why, weed is still considered Category 1. But, things like heroin, methamphetamines, stuff with no medical use whatsoever. Kratom is getting put on Schedule 1. And people are planning marches about this. If you Google Kratom March DC, there is a march being scheduled to protest this stuff being moved to Schedule 1. The only reason it's being moved to Schedule 1 is because the same people that run the DEA are the same bastards that want you hooked on legal skag.
Yep. And opium market.
Well, absolutely. And,
the illicit opium market outside of the pharmaceutical complex.
Well, they want that, though. They want that.
Exactly.
Black market.
They want that.
They want criminals.
Because
they
they're
want
running
people to fill their for-profit prisons,
Right. It's already out there. CIA runs drugs. The CIA runs drugs to get money for black programs. And that goes right back to that $9.3 trillion. They're already paying to arm ISIS and to train all them guys and everything with drug money and arms money. Where the hell is this $9.3 trillion going? I don't understand why people ain't more upset over this. It really is upsetting. That's a lot of damn money. You guys need to understand. That is a lot. That's $30,000. That's way more than half I make in a year. For what? For what? That just disappears?
Yep. Whoop. Gone.
Gone.
And it's gone.
I'm sorry, man. Cranham.
So yeah, this huge margin. I implore all of you, if you think that it'll do any good, if anybody's listening, write your congressman, write your elected officials. I don't know what to tell you what to do. All I know is that you should be mad. You should be very mad, and you should be mad as hell and not take this anymore.
We gotta get the government out of this kind of stuff. I mean, like, look at the cannabis oils and all the wonderful things that does. It's curing cancer. It's helping autistic people. It's helping people with seizures. It's doing all kinds of wonderful things. But yet, no.
They've proven that cannabinoids not only kill cancer, but that cannabinoids are found in human breast milk.
Your brain has receptors for them. I mean, come on, man. Your brain has receptors specifically built for that compound.
So, I mean, as you know, it should be pretty transparent that the only reason for this sort of prohibition, prohibition didn't work with alcohol. It doesn't work now.
Right.
Portugal pretty much decriminalized everything years ago, and nobody wants to go back. Nobody wants to go back to prohibition there. Drug overdoses have gone down, at least 60%. People who really do have substance abuse problems can go see their doctor and have it treated like a medical issue, because that's what addiction is. It's a medical issue, and it should be treated as such. There's no reason for free reasoning people to have the government intrude into what they put in their own bodies.
It's ridiculous, man. It really is.
And
it's getting out of control, man. And then,
as if the war on weed wasn't transparent enough that they just want you to be sick and die and be a criminal and make yourself a criminal for trying to get some relief. If you have anybody in your family that has had problems with opiate abuse or substance addiction problems, then you might know just how valuable this kratom stuff is. And it really is a curse. And the fact that something is on the market, on the open free market, that, might actually help some people, well, these people just can't stand it. So they're going to send some jackboots to start kicking in doors over this stuff September 30th. You can probably find a kilo of it on the internet for about $80. I'd recommend stocking up now, because prices are just going to go up, up, up.
And you won't be able to acquire it legally anymore after the 30th.
Right.
So if you've got a heroin addiction problem, or you can benefit in any other way, you might want to check into that while you still can.
You can write your congressmen, you can write your senators. It won't do you any good.
No.
You can sign some petitions. It probably won't do you any good.
It ain't gonna.
What does work besides direct counter-economic action?
Man.
Perhaps we'll discuss that in a future episode of upcoming.
I think it's key, man. It's key. Like, what we're doing right now is cool. It's getting out to some people. Maybe opening some people's eyes. But I think the key thing is to really just get out there and talk to people face to face. And, someone is much more likely to take you seriously when you're standing in front of them, engaging them. And not only that, just stuff like this, it gets lost in the sea of the internet. I mean, the chances that someone's going to randomly stumble across this is pretty slim without having known about it previously.
Well, yeah, I found out about Kratom over the internet. And, I have people who are very close to me that have been taking this stuff to help with chronic pain, especially people who've been failed by the pharmaceutical industrial complex. It seems we've got all kinds of those industrial complexes these days.
Yeah, they keep popping up left and right, don't they?
Media industrial complex, the military industrial complex, the pharma industrial complex.
And it seems that no one really even, every single one of them just is bad. I mean, there's no good. You tell me an industrial complex that's good.
It seems to me every time business and government team up to screw everybody.
Pretty much, man.
That's pretty much what happens.
All right, so it's pretty obvious we live in fascism, but, textbook definition of fascism, we live in it here. But no, we don't. We're freedom.
You can trample on my freedoms, but not my flag.
So, what's this here? Germany is literally getting paid to borrow money. What? Germany's balanced budget couldn't be more fiscally irresponsible. Are you kidding me? This is coming from the Washington Post, guys. Listen to this line one more time. Germany's balanced budget couldn't be more fiscally irresponsible.
They'd know.
I mean, who wrote this?
Well,
No, I'm just saying,
well,
man.
it says source Bloomberg. So.
It's not just that Germany has gotten into the black by scrimping on repairs today that might end up costing it more tomorrow. It's that Germany's being so tight-fisted at the least opportune moment possible. Look. George Soros is trying to suck the freaking life out of you. You can't have a balanced budget, guys. What are you doing? It's never going to have lower borrowing costs, so it might as well spend the money now that it's eventually going to have to on upkeep and upgrading its infrastructure. Wow. In fact, it's even worse than that. Germany is actually losing money by not borrowing money. Wow, what a thing to say. You're actually losing money by not borrowing money.
The gnomes of Zurich have been busy.
Guys. Who buys into this? Now negative rates are nothing new in Europe. Investors have been willing to pay for them for a while. Why?
Negative
well,
rates.
prices are falling 0.6% in the Eurozone, so a euro will be worth more tomorrow than today. Now, I wonder, bouncing back to Brexit.
I can't wait for Texit, personally.
Texit. So, what? The euro is going to be worth more now that England's gone? I find that hard to believe.
Well, apparently England's economy is making a rebound, so, all these people
I
who
knew it
are
would.
screaming doom and gloom about Brexit, how does it feel to suck it?
I mean,
you guys are wrong.
Yeah, I knew it would, man. They're not. The only way, man, I was thinking maybe they'd let it tank and then they just put them down and be like, hey, kind of use them as an example of why you don't leave the EU. You know what I mean? But now this guy's saying that the euro dollar is going to be stronger. I find that kind of hard to believe.
Well, doesn't that tie in with all these bailouts, all this money going to Greece?
So there's a slight difference now.
That sounds like a pretty good way to launder trillions of dollars and move things towards black ops projects.
Before, governments were selling debt at barely positive interest rates, and markets were subsequently pushing those rates down into barely negative territory. So investors were paying for the privilege of lending to the governments. So they're like, look, we'll give you some cash if you go ahead and sell us debt from your citizens so they can have to fork over large portions of their income to pay us back interest on what we give you so you can build your roads.
Yeah, it's not about roads. It's about shady backroom deals.
It's about sucking the money. It's about the perpetual debt slavery cycle that everyone in the under the Western banking cartel is suffering through. You go to work, you get a large chunk of your money taken out of your check that goes to the IRS.
Work 8
that
hours.
Ends up back.
Sleep 8 hours.
It goes to the
play
IRS,
8 hours.
and then it gets sent to the Federal Reserve as interest payment for the money that the government borrowed from the private banking cartel, the Federal Reserve, that constitutionally they should have coined themselves without an interest rate. So, I mean, there you go. There you have it. That's why. You are meant to live in a perpetual debt slavery cycle, and you are not meant to escape that at all, and you're supposed to enjoy it and work harder.
Hopefully on a future show coming up, we'll talk about ways to exploit that, but that's a future show.
Oh, man.
Is it possible to live like a king by surfing the perpetual spiral of debt?
So, yeah, that goes back to the galactic monetary policy with, the Ferengi, what did they call it? The great continuum of monetary.
Yeah, the great material continuum.
The great material continuum. Take a hop on in, ride it on down to the missing trillions, baby.
Hey, They had a point that one episode where they say, you think the Ferengi are so bad because we're greedy and we care about money, but we never we never nuked our own people. We never irradiated our own planet, or threw each other in concentration
Sprayed
camps,
chemicals
or kept each other as
all
slaves.
over everyone. So
maybe
now
the Ferengi ain't so bad.
let me drop a little something to you guys.
Always beware the man who doesn't have time for Umox.
Now, a couple weeks ago now, something happened that didn't really garner any kind of mainstream news coverage. All right. Someone tried to assassinate Julian Assange. Inside of the Ecuadorian embassy in England, they climbed the fence, they tried to get at him. Right after multiple politicians calling for his assassination, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, you name it, all up there on the stump. Julian Assange needs to be taken out. Now, I read recently...
Didn't the guy climb up the building like Spider-Man?
Who?
The would-be assassin?
Yeah. So... Oh, man, I lost my train of thought. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate
Sorry.
that.
Mirror.
all I can see is Spider-Man now climbing up the building.
Mirror.co.uk reports that pictures of a guy climbing up the side of a glass window. Pictures are all over Twitter. It's commonly alleged, hey, maybe that's one of Hillary's assassins, which really wouldn't surprise me. If anybody's ever Googled, just Google the Clinton dead.
Now, think about...
It is mind-boggling what comes up.
I read that as early as next week that there could be the newest document dump from Clinton off of WikiLeaks that's going to be, the October surprise. I'm like, get it out already.
What's the holdup? Come on, leak it already. They're saying that Hillary's got Parkinson's now. That ought to shake things up. Sorry, bad joke. I'm going to hell for that one, folks.
Yeah. If you got Parkinson's, we love you too.
Please listen. Please call.
I know it might be kind of hard to dial, but... Hey, you can Skype it on in, man.
Such revelation could send tremors through the American political continuum.
So, where was I at? Yeah, so this document dump that could be coming as soon, as early as next week. Of course they want this guy dead, because God knows what he's got in there. It could be medical revelations, could be whatever. I mean, but whatever it is, it's damning. And
It is crazy. A friend of mine lives in D.C. I actually have a friend who lives in D.C. And maybe a couple of weeks ago, there was an explosion. The headline said that it was a gas main erupting or something. But I'm not sure if it's true or not, but some of the internet rumor mills are saying that DNC staffers were killed in this explosion. This was literally around the corner from my friend's apartment. I was like, man, you need to get out of town until this year's Hunger Games are over, dude. You need to go. You need to bounce. D.C. is not safe. Do not be in D.C. or Baltimore right now. You may end up as collateral damage.
Baltimore door.
One does not simply live in Baltimore.
That place is a dump, man. On a side note, we went out there a couple times and played some shows, and, man, I tell you what, gutters overflowing with 40 miles, like the storm drains or the water drains, just pouring out of there into the street everywhere, man.
Can you walk a van?
Can you walk a van? That happened in, yeah. All right, let's move on from that. So just so you guys know, you cannot walk a van. So do not try to park on the sidewalk while you're unloading your equipment.
And you cannot assassinate Julian Assange, but apparently you can bag his lawyer.
Oh, yeah. Let us know about that.
What's it? This guy's been holed up in this Ecuadorian embassy for 4 years. I'm just wondering, when is he finally going to be able to leave? Good Lord. And how about that Snowden fellow? There's that movie coming out about him pretty soon. I'm actually kind of excited about that. I want to see what Oliver Stone's New World Order spin on that's going to be.
Man, recently something strange happened with Snowden, too. I was, cruising the regular channels, and I saw someone post something about Snowden just tweeted, "If I've talked to you since 2013, now is the time." All right, so, and then it got taken down. Then, a couple days later, tweets that mystery string. I don't know if you guys ever seen anything. It was like 64 character encryption string or something like that people were speculating was to open the document dump because he got murdered and all this and that. We're checking out. Someone is currently posting on Edward Snowden's Twitter page. If it's actually him, I do not know. Was he taken out? Was he not? Recently was an assassination attempt on Putin, too, they say. A car crash. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his favorite chauffeur was killed in a head-on car crash collision. So, is there really a division amongst the cabals that create the elite of the world? Is there really infighting amongst the ranks?
I firmly believe that Putin's faction is an opposing faction to what we know as people call the New World Order or the Illuminati, whatever. It's a criminal syndicate that runs the financial sector and owns practically everything in the Western world. So Russia's cabal criminal empire network, whatever, is at war with our cabal criminal empire network, whatever. And then also inside of our cabal, which we know is made up of the North America and Europe, there's a separate rift there between the Europeans and the Americans. So could this latest Putin assassination attempt be part of that war? I mean, we've got the Panama Papers. That was, that was definitely going back and forth there between our cabal. What else happened? And then all these leaks.
Well, and you would think that if there really was some sort of secret space program activity going on, and TR-3B is capable of delivering, incredible amounts of destructive firepower from, a stationary midair platform, that these things would be in use.
Well, it would be like they wouldn't use it unless they absolutely had to, like in
or
a
if
setting.
They did, they'd make it covert.
Like you'd never see one of them TRBs doing a bombing run in Afghanistan. That's why we got the stealth planes, man. You know what I mean? You'll never see that. That's like back in the day, they would never use the stealth planes back then. They would have used their regular bombers because they're keeping it secret.
So how far?
And now they're so much further in advance, they can release the stealth and be like, look, that's our stealth. Now that's our bomber, the stealth bomber.
And it makes you wonder how far up does that compartmentalization go? Does it go all the way to the top to where there's different factions within the cabal fighting each other?
Exactly, and there's whistleblower testimony lets us know that there's several layers deep of this, with each layer thinking they're the tippy top.
Well, and speaking of Snowden, how bad does what does that say about the state of affairs here when American whistleblowers have to flee to Russia, of all places?
It's incredible, man. And then our politicians calling for his assassination. He is still an American citizen, all right? He still is granted due process. Even though he fled and they're saying he committed treason and espionage, he is still an American citizen and needs to be granted due process. You can't just call for his assassination and try to cap him off. That's no better. That's worse. I don't know. It's the same. When Obama killed all them guys, they killed them American citizens that were supposedly the head of Al-Qaeda. You remember drone bombs in Yemen? Mm-hmm. It's just a continuation of a policy that is totally un-American. You're not the judge, jury, executioner. You're the executive branch. All right, you carry out the law. You don't just say you're guilty, I'm killing you. You don't do that. That's not what it's supposed to be about.
Exactly. If due process under the law doesn't apply to the most guilty, horrific, horrible person out there, personally, I think guys like Snowden and even Bradley / Chelsea Manning, people like that do let the American people know that their government is doing absolutely horrible things that they should really be pissed off and ashamed of. I think those people are actually heroes.
They are in my book too.
Yeah, absolutely. But even if the most rotten waste of life out there, the most violent, horrific, barbaric person, if that person doesn't get equal or due process under the law, if that doesn't apply to them, then it doesn't apply to you.
Exactly. It's not going to apply to you. Also, the Snowden with the NSA thing, I mean, if you're initiated, so to speak, it's not new to you. It wasn't new to you but it was validation. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is, he got the NSA's database. He got, let that sink in, the NSA. All right, this was, he didn't even exist until 1950. So if there's any kind of evidence about clandestine space programs, you know, this exopolitics stuff, it's going to be in the NSA. The NSA is going to have, they hear and see everything literally, and they have it all on file and database. So there's no way anything like that could be operating without the NSA's knowledge. So if there's any type of conspiracy, all right, so NASA. Okay. NASA, we got to talk about Operation Paperclip.
All about it.
All right, so Operation
That should
Paperclip.
definitely be of interest to anybody here from the Hampton Roads area who may have had paperclip scientists living right in their backyards.
Mhm.
That's right. You might have had Nazi war criminals right next door all these years and not known.
Operation Paperclip.
Is your neighbor a Nazi scientist?
They, after World War II, they basically divvied up the German scientists and others.
Well, they split up and went all over the planet.
Right. Well, I'm talking about Operation Paperclip. They divvied them up between the U.S. and
the U.S.,
Russia,
Russia,
and
Japan,
Russia.
South America,
Right.
Israel, South Africa.
So they eventually came to work for us and continued the work on the V-2 rocket, which basically became the Apollo program. So
right. It's common knowledge that we wouldn't have, supposedly wouldn't have publicly made it to the moon if it weren't for von Braun.
right,
So,
a Nazi. So NASA was completely run by Nazis, and there's no reason to believe why that kind of stuff still isn't going on. I mean, after the war, now New Schwabenland.
New Schwabenland?
New Schwabenland.
Is that a cheese?
It's a cheese, and you put it on ice. So basically, Nazis, or a certain segment of the Nazis, you could think of it as the cabal behind it. Like, you know how...
This wouldn't have anything to do with that Thule Gesellschaft or the Vril Society, would
Maybe
it?
a little bit there. You know how we've got the guys that
Those
go out to
German aero clubs?
they go out to the Bohemian Club, and they do the little seances or the ceremonies in the forest in front of the owl, and then you've got the Freemasonic Order and the Jesuits, all these secret societies. So essentially, that group in Germany at the time kind of set up bases in Antarctica to do this experimental research. And we'll get into that more in later episodes because we're kind of running short on time. But so essentially they established a base in Antarctica. Right, this is why you heard about all them Nazis fleeing to South America.
Mm-hmm.
So they got this base in Antarctica. They're working on technology and all that. And after the end of the war, they still continued to be there. We actually put together a mission out there, Admiral Byrd, Operation High Jump. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Not as much as I'd like to be.
Okay, so this guy puts together this expedition
I knew about it.
full
I
of
knew
war,
Admiral Byrd was.
full of warplanes and everything, just this whole fleet of shit. He goes down to Antarctica, and he comes back with his tail between his legs, talking. And when he gets to South America, he makes some comments along the lines of, we'll soon have aircraft that will fly pole to pole in a matter of minutes, and all this crazy stuff, right? And but then he kind of got silenced, and that was it. And you didn't get any kind of info about that at all after that point. So he went down there, stumbled on the Nazi base with all the advanced technologies and whatever, and so the story goes from there. But that's so back to the point. NASA being infiltrated by these same people. So it's really hard for me to believe anything that comes out of NASA. And they are always constantly changing their story and admitting that they, did some shady type stuff. And
Well, I know there's some debate as to whether or not the moon landings actually happened.
Right.
I'm firmly in the camp that says yes, the moon landings did happen. We went to the moon multiple times. Might even still be going there now. But we did, with the first one, I know they did make a fake. They faked a backup just to mess with the Russians in case the mission failed.
I also heard that
Kubrick was in on it.
I also heard that, they did fake a landing because of footage and stuff. Radiation destroyed the film from the first
Huh.
Yeah,
That's-
because so I also heard that too, but I also heard going back to the whistleblowers that when we got there, there was somebody already there.
Huh. That's,
and they told
that's
us
interesting.
not to come back, and that's why that was such a short-lived program.
Huh. Well, it'd be interesting to know if anything. Recently, the Chinese sent a probe to the moon, Jade Rabbit.
Right. Yeah, I remember that was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's still going or not, but it'd be interesting.
I never saw it, because they had one that was supposed to orbit it and get us shots of the dark side of the moon and all that.
Mhm.
But I never heard anything out of it, never seen any pictures from it, nothing.
Well, I think the only way the public at large is ever going to know is when private concerns, and I don't mean corporatist space. Don't get me wrong. SpaceX makes my heart sore, and to think that one day there will be a completely privatized space industry, makes me giddy like a schoolgirl. But we're not there yet, and SpaceX is still very tied up with the government. So I'd like to see what
Speaking
happens
of-
when private space concerns, truly private space concerns, start launching their own missions to the moon and the asteroids. And
But now, if there really is some type of clandestine programs going up there with bases and everything already on it, they're not going to want them to find out. But they can't come right out and be like, you can't go to the moon. So now we're looking at this recent SpaceX failure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's still open for debate for me. I'm not convinced that everything in those videos were bugs or birds. The one where it flies over when the thing explodes, to me, that's the main one in question for me. And it would make complete sense for someone who didn't want someone to know, or maybe the payload that was in that rocket isn't what they were telling us, and it was some kind of, we know we have warring factions within the earthly cabal, so I'm sure each one of those has their own extension inside of the exopolitics that run everything. So
I would advise everybody who's listening, if anybody who has a chance, stop by exopolitics.org and give it a glance around, and you might find some articles of interest that help you follow what we talk about here a little bit easier.
We'll also be bringing you content more and more. We're just kind of breaking it in a little bit here. We're going to be breaking it up into easily digestible segments for you to kind of grasp all the concepts, because it really takes a deep knowledge of hidden history too to kind of understand where all this stuff is coming from.
But yeah, so hang on, I just kind of
Okay, so all right, moving on from that point, we got the DNC now. We were off the air last month as Ron and the
Speaking of
Hills.
Nazis.
we were off the air last month as Ron and the Hills, so we didn't really get to cover a whole lot of this DNC leak stuff. All the evidence of voter fraud against Bernie and the guys showing up dead, all the recent whistleblowers showing up dead.
Oh yeah, there's the other guy that basically just got shot down in the street like 7 times in the back out in Northwest DC.
Then we also had the Soros leaks come up. I don't know if you guys have heard about that yet, but you can check it out. It's soros.dcleaks.com, and it's a vast database of stuff from all of his little corporate little groups throughout the planet, and you can type in some search terms and find out some good stuff in there. The Clinton emails, they're alleging... well, no, before I get to that, tying in with Soros, Clinton emails, this is something that came out recently that you may not be aware of as well. Soros was directing her as Secretary of State.
That doesn't shock me.
Telling her what to do about certain things. I'm sure we'll have a segment coming up in the future exposing that a little more with you, maybe a video or something.
Something else that popped up recently, it came out at about the same time as the most recent WikiLeaks dump of Hillary's emails. And actually, if you go to WikiLeaks now, you can basically look through the dumped email database and read through it yourself. There was a spreadsheet that popped up that actually had Trump on the DNC's payroll still.
Wow.
As of this year, him and his son. And
Wow.
it also, laid out how Trump had made generous donations to the Clinton Foundation. And almost as soon as the spreadsheet went up, it was gone.
So that goes back to my original point about Donald Trump being a Clintonite, essentially a Bush.
Oh, yeah, they've been BFFs forever.
There to totally just throw it for Clinton, just as an extra insurance policy that she gets to become the next emperor of the world.
Well, and here's my prediction. I think this is how it's going to play out. Trump is actually going to get the popular vote because, say what you want about him, the popular support for the guy is there. Like, I've seen plenty of poor, misled people with Trump bumper stickers and Trump shirts and hats and the rest not yard signs. So the popular support for him is there. It's not going to matter because the entire thing is rigged. They're going to anoint her anyhow. She's going to be medically declared unfit for service. They're going to try and squeak a real slime bag like Tim Kaine in there. And, I've had some run-ins with Tim Kaine before. I basically told him that the people weren't his tax cows, and the best response he had was, "My roads!"
Yeah.
What about my
he was
road?
like,
How did
he
you
was
drive
like,
here?
yeah, he was like, you guys can actually watch that. Jump onto
legitimizes
the
socialism. Did you drive here?
jump onto the Round in the Hills YouTube page and find the Citizens versus Tim Kaine video. We were chasing him down years ago. And this guy, his response to Dan was, "How'd you get here? Ha ha ha. You took a road, I get to rob you." Because look, this is what happened. So the guy gets in and he's like, "Listen up, all right? You got to elect me because there's not going to be any tolls. No, we're going to have these roads. It's going to be great. There's going to be no tolls, no tolls." And then he gets elected. First thing he does, tolls, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's pissed. They're like, and here to top it all off, we
Here's
had already
a tax increase too.
we had already paid for the roads. But see, they can't keep their hands out of the honeypot. And God knows what they spent that on.
It's fun spending.
And then all of a sudden, there's we need money for roads. We need the money for the roads. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And
well, and that's why I think it's all one big shell game. Because you remember back in 2010, 2011. What was it? The last Republican governor. What was his name? Was it Gilmore?
No, the one that got indicted and then eventually got away.
Yeah, remember he came out. Oh yeah, McDonnell. Yeah, he came out and he was like, "Oh yeah, there's like a $1 billion surplus in the roads budget. We're gonna build some roads."
Yeah.
So
Unbelievable, man.
it's all the shells. It's all scooping it around.
No
accountability for anything.
While we're on the local news topic, a while back, McLaughlin pen-stroked 300,000 people's rights to vote back or something like that. So the Republicans took it. They fought it. They brought it to the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court decided that, no, he can't grant a blanket restoration like that. It has to be on a case-by-case individual basis. So the guy turned around. What he did was all the people out of the 300,000, which was only 18,000, that had registered to vote after they were granted the right back, he went through individually and signed a pardon for each one. So just a little update on that in case you guys didn't know about that. What you got over there?
I figure if we're delving into local stuff, just recently I saw an article today about a Virginia Beach police officer that had gotten in some trouble for retaining evidence that had been marked for destruction. So now he's being charged with embezzlement. And I'm wondering if this is the same guy that was recently involved with a smoke shop in Virginia Beach being raided by Virginia Beach Police Department.
Oh, yeah, I heard a little something about that. I think
it was Papa Joe's Smoke Shop.
Be
sure to look them up on Facebook and throw their page a like.
Yeah, I think our friends over there on Pistol Midnight were talking about that on Facebook.
Yeah, they weren't trying to let them see the warrant, didn't let them record, took all their cameras, took all the security footage, took a bunch of merchandise, and there's basically no real legal reason for them to come raid the shop when there's first of all, there's tons of other shops around town that sell the same stuff.
Right.
So I have to assume that this involved somebody not paying their dues. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Politics. Somebody not paying their dues. Somebody not polishing the right apples on the way up the ladder.
Somebody supporting the wrong candidate.
Yeah.
For council or whatever.
And I wonder if this officer that was arrested for holding on to contraband was involved in the raid on the shop. So if anybody has any information about that, come to our page, blast it out. We'd love to hear about it.
We're getting into the last leg here, so if you guys want to call in, talk about anything we've been talking about or something else on your mind, feel free to do so now. It's your last chance to get in on to Reality Brief. You know, coming up in the future, we're going to be launching a TV show. Not sure exactly how it's going to go yet, but also the radio show is going to turn more into more of a visual thing. Slowly but surely, it'll get up to snuff. We'll have all the technical details ironed out and no more technical difficulties for you guys. And it's going to be great. So we also going to have Phantom Spy joining us. We got some other people that are going to be on the TV show. And for those of you wondering, Ronnie, he's not able to do the live radio stream anymore due to time. So he will be involved in the future to some extent in the video work and all that stuff, and possibly come back on the radio if his schedule allows it. If that does not happen, you will have to ask him why, not me. Anything else?
I'd like to wish him the best of luck with all of his future endeavors.
Anything else?
Just to pedal back to the whole ICANN and handing over control of the internet to the UN. There's a group of people, speaking of shadowy cabals and things that could certainly use more transparency. There was a group that I read about called the IGF that I'd sure like to know more about. Apparently they're a group that helps control ICANN. And I'm not sure to what degree exactly.
Well, I think that's going to just about wrap it up for this week's edition. We're going to go ahead and cut it short a little bit this week.
Hopefully
we got some more stuff to
look into that in a future show.
Yeah, we'll let you know what happens with that next week. But what you need to do is hop on over to the Reality Brief YouTube channel and go ahead and like and subscribe on that. And you'll stay up to date with all of the video releases coming out over there. You can also hit us up on Facebook at Reality Brief We also got a Disclosed TV channel you can check out. Soon we should be broadcasting from multiple platforms as well, so you'll be able to catch us at other places like Twitch and also on our own YouTube channel simultaneously with the Radio Free Radio channel and stream. We also may have some syndication deals working in the future, so we'll see how all that pans out.
I like syndication.
I'm Don P.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to get syndicated.
I'm Don P.
Dan Lyons.
And this has been your Reality Brief.